equipping one another for positive transformation by developing and imparting knowledge, skills, and values that will help everyone to grow in their relationship with God and with man. Our tools are prayers, Bible studies, evangelism activities, seminars, workshops, donations, support, and building quality relationships. Heal Our Land is just one of the tools we use to accomplish our mission, empowering lives for better. We pray that as you attend today's program, your life will be empowered for better. We ask that you please share the link, call others, and encourage them to join us. Today, as we celebrate the 64th year of our nation's independence, we gather with a unified purpose to reflect, to pray, and to learn how we can take positive actions towards healing our land. Nigeria is a big country filled with great potentials, cultural diversity, and rich resources. Yet, Nigeria is fraught with so many challenges. Nigeria cannot be fixed by one man. Nigeria cannot be fixed by one leader or even one generation. The task of healing and restoring the nations requires a collective effort from all of us. As citizens, we must understand that the change we seek in our society begins with us. The change we seek begins with us. We must understand that our transformation lies in unity, hard work, commitment to doing the right things, not just once, but every day. Healing for Nigeria will come when there is a great awareness, when we act with wisdom, when we seek knowledge, and we apply understanding to the challenges we face as a people. We must strive to teach our citizens, young and old. We must strive to model the values we want to see in our society. We must encourage those who need encouragement, and we must reprimand those who need to be corrected when it's necessary. This is how we become part of the healing process, not just in words, but through our actions. Each of us must be a guardian of justice, a defender of peace, and a beacon of hope in our communities. Today, let us commit ourselves anew to this mission of healing Nigeria. Let us pray for the wisdom to lead, for abundant prosperity, for peace to reign, and for unity to bind us together. As we reflect on our history and celebrate the present, let's look forward to a future filled with the manifestation of God's promises of restoration for Nigeria. With God's help and through our collective efforts, we believe that the glory of Nigeria will be restored. Thank you for coming. We hope to see you again and again and again at our future programs and events. May God bless you today and always, and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you and welcome once again. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Amen. Put your hands together for the Lord. Thank you very much, Mike. God bless you. Thank you. Did you hear that? Be the change that you want to see. You and I have equal responsibility to make this country great again, and that we will. God helping us in Jesus' name. Amen. So we have awesome guests in our midst today. You're going to sit back and learn from the knowledge. You're going to sit back and as the speakers begin to speak, you kindly will write questions so that at the end of the program, we can take your questions and hopefully address them as best as we can. So next, we're calling forth our first speaker, Mrs. Abiye Tam George, who's a renowned human rights advocate dedicated to women's and children's rights. As the author of Children's Rights, a handbook for children and young persons. She serves as a regional attorney mediator for the compliance advisor Abdusman at the World Bank Group. Ms. Abiye leads ATG Legal, offering free legal advice through Live Better Every Day. A passionate literacy supporter, she founded a mobile library and the Read a Book a Day program, aspiring to establish a family and child development center. Without wasting any more time, joining us, we make welcome Abiye Tam George. You're welcome, Ma. God bless you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Can I be heard?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Should I proceed with my presentation?
Absolutely, Ma.
All right, thank you. Happy anniversary to everyone here. I'm delighted. I mean, our host had said it all. We all have a responsibility, and I think part of the responsibility is what she has put in together today. There is still room for improvement, room for more questioning, evaluation, and assessment, redefining what we do, and all of that. And today, I'm privileged to be invited to speak on the topic, Wisdom for Peace and Harmony in a Challenging Society. It can't come better, right? We live in a society where we need to be intentional about the peace and harmony that we seek. It's beyond every imagination how we continue to survive on a daily basis. So I'd like you to be with me while I share my knowledge and experience in trying to interrogate this topic, wisdom for peace and harmony in a challenging society. If it's possible, please grab your pen, grab a notebook. Let's have a conversation and see how we can improve ourselves to do better. I also want to remind us, in the spirit of creating awareness, just 10 days ago, we celebrated the International Day of Peace. 21st September of every year is a day we try to remind people the importance of finding peace, the importance of creating peace, the importance of cultivating peace, the importance of creating awareness. And I think this is a good forum to be able to mention that. Now, we're going to be discussing quite a lot in interrogating this particular topic. We will look at what is wisdom. We'll look at types of wisdom. We'll look at how do I develop wisdom. We'll look at practical steps in applying wisdom. We'll look at challenges we faced as human beings. We'll look at what is peace, what types of peace that we have. We're going to look at what is harmony, types of harmony, benefits of applying wisdom. And then we're going to round up in a form of advice. By way of introduction, I want to say that we're all human beings. That we know very well. And that we have a lot of commonalities, things that are very common to us. So what is common to us is greater than the differences that we share. And so what affects one human being will invariably affect another human being. And sometimes we share the pains together, right? We're emotional persons, we're emotional beings. And by being emotional, it means that when I'm happy, you could see it right over me. When I'm sad, you could also see it. If I'm someone that has compassion, you will see it. If I have empathy, you'll see it. The same thing I'll also see when you express those emotions. It shows that we have a lot in common. It shows that we can feel our pain together, we can feel our joy together. We have all come to terms with what is life and death. And so at the end of the day, no matter how privileged we are, No matter how exposed we are, no matter our knowledge and experience, we'll gradually get to a point where we will not be on this physical earth. Death will catch up with us. That makes us very common in our existence, all right? And so we're also spiritual beings. No one of us here will perhaps still survive into these realities. Nigeria as it is now, if you are not a spiritual being, I need to come school with you so I can learn from you. It is almost impossible for you to still retain your sanity without having to have affiliation with spiritual gathering, with spiritual inclination, with spiritual teachings, with spiritual practices. It's going to be very difficult. So every one of us, no matter our faith, we are spiritual human beings. I can go on and on. We share the same kind of struggles. We all have and experience economic challenges. We all experience family challenges, environmental challenges, medical challenges. All these are things that we share in common. And these things that makes us the same, almost practically the same. Whatever decision we're about to take, whatever action we're about to take, whatever inaction that we find ourselves involving, it will help guide us toward the path of peace. And that is also the fundamental of applying wisdom. As we're going to see, wisdom is not something that you just dream about. Wisdom is not something you pray for. Wisdom cannot just fall from the sky. It's a process. You need to have certain skills. You need to be well informed in order to apply it. And so I came up with this definition of wisdom. And all of these is as a result of my own experience, my circumstances, my background, and all of this will play out as we go on. Now, what is wisdom? I have seen wisdom as the ability to apply the right insights that resolve a matter in a fair and just way. Now, this is very simple, but I'd like us to understand what it means to have an insight about something. To have an insight about something means that you have deep-rooted knowledge about a particular matter. You have the ability to be aware of the different views about that matter. You have the knowledge. A lot of things are involved. You must understand that there is self-preservation, even as you're interrogating that issue, even as you want to intervene to resolve that issue. A lot needed to be on the table for you to have to apply wisdom. And that is wisdom itself. Having that knowledge base to take a decision that is fair and just cannot just come to you. You need certain factors, you need certain skills, you need knowledge to be able to get that done. And so wisdom is the ability to apply the right insights that resolve a matter in a fair and just way. Now, we have different types of wisdom. We have intellectual wisdom. Intellectual wisdom explains that each one of us on this call do have our professional affiliations. We are experts in different areas. As a lawyer, I have the intellectual wisdom on legal matters, on legal issues, about the law, about principles that guides the conduct of people legally. So this is an intellectual knowledge that I'll bring to bear when my services are demanded. When there is a request by my client, and my client comes to me to say, you know what, someone had just slapped me. That intellectual wisdom will come to bear to me And I will know that this is assault. An assault are just a code. I'll be able to have an interpretation to it. I will advise my client on what and what to do. So that's what it means to have intellectual wisdom. And we will use it. A doctor will use it. An engineer will use it. An entrepreneur will use it. So we all have these intellectual wisdom. Experience about something can form intellectual wisdom as well. All right? We have emotional wisdom. Emotional wisdom is something we all apply as well, depending on your extent of open-mindedness. Because empathy is something that is built. Empathy is something that is intentional. To be empathetic, it's not given to you. You will need to understand the reason why you have to show empathy. You know that when you understand that diversity, it's not something to be afraid of. It's something that you should be able to recognize, interrogate, understand. Then it will very easily come to you to show empathy. And that's where emotional wisdom comes to play. When you see people and their circumstances, rather than abuse their circumstances, their lack of privilege, their lack of resources, their ignorance as well, you're not going to play on them. You're not going to take opportunity. Rather, you're going to be empathetic. That is emotional wisdom. Your ability to show emotional wisdom is very important. And we've seen it displayed in several ways. We also have spiritual wisdom. Spiritual wisdom is what I think a lot of us apply these days. We have just decided to rest our hope, our faith on God. We have decided to inculcate and use the words of the Bible. The Bible is a great instructor when it comes to wisdom. The book of Proverbs tells you so much that we can all apply and practicalize the application of wisdom. In 1 Kings chapter 3, we all know the story of King Solomon, how it played out. As we go on, we'll come to discover that in everything there are skills and there are steps that you need to apply. King Solomon did not just have wisdom. Something happened. He took certain steps. Even when a request was made, even when there was an offer to him, he had to take certain steps to apply wisdom. So spiritual wisdom is that which we all know. And it's important that we have that consciousness, that there are different types of wisdom and how we can use them. There is also practical wisdom. Practical wisdom is what we do on a daily basis. You don't need to have a lot of experience to do it. But there is still a part of information that you needed to acquire. So even implement or utilize practical wisdom. For instance, I have a case of not drinking water as it when necessary. I drink water only when I eat. And I told myself, this is wrong. You know what it means to drink water. Water is good for your health. It nourishes, it does a lot of things. Yet I fail to do it. And so practical wisdom tells me to take certain steps and ensure that I drink water even if I'm not eating. That is practical wisdom. So we can use that wisdom in a lot of ways, in different ways. We should remember that there are different types of wisdom, and we should have that, train ourselves to be able to use all these forms of wisdom. And this can be done, all of these four forms of wisdom can be used at the same time to get something done. So it's important that we mentioned this. I want to quickly talk about how do we develop wisdom. You know, I've mentioned that wisdom does not just come to you. It can't just come to you. It's not something you aspire. It's not something you pray for. You need to take some intentional steps. Now, these are some of the ways that you can look at. How do I develop wisdom? For you to develop wisdom, you need to understand that you need to have insight and critical thinking skills. Having insight, which I have explained, deals a lot with knowledge, with interrogation, seeking for help, mentorship. All of that will come together for you to have a good insight when you want to decide something for yourself, for the public, or for anyone at all. I'll try as much as possible to be very personal with my conversation. By being personal, I mean, let us see ourselves as having those training to help ourselves first before we help other people. Most times, we want to help people when we do not even have the capacity, the skills, the experience to do so. Now, at the end of the day, it's never sustainable. So we must first have insight and have critical thinking skills to be able to develop wisdom. We've said that wisdom is something that you need to develop, right? So this is something that you need to know. Insight and critical thinking is one way to go about it. Discernment and self-awareness. For you to discern, you need to have a knowledge base. You need to have ideas about something. You can't have ideas if you don't have knowledge. And so we kept going back to knowledge. We kept going back to experience. We kept going back to understanding your environment, your situation, understanding other people as well, understanding their peculiarities, their culture, their religion. So many things come to play. Self-awareness is also very important. Who are you? Have you sat down to reflect on who you are? Have you sat down to reflect on what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are? It's very important to be self-aware. When you're self-aware, for instance, if you react with a lot of impatience, you need to be aware of that. And so when you're getting into any matter, any activity, even how you control yourself, if you're in that consciousness, if you know that, look, I react in a very impromptu way, I react in a way that is not very good, that checks you when once you want to act, because you've reminded yourself, because you're self-aware. Experience comes to play here as well. Experience is so important. Experience does not mean that you would have been at the receiving end. No, you don't have to be at the receiving end to have an experience. Now, I have volunteered to work with children for close to 2 decades. I have been a church instructor for children, for youths. I have worked with them for a very long time. And so I can tell you that I understand the developmental processes of children. I can tell you that having studied parenting, having come up with, exposing myself, teaching people about parenting, about children's rights, I can tell you that a child's developmental processes are not to be disciplined. They are not to be punished. They are to be monitored, supervised, and corrected. They are different things. So discipline is different from punishment. And if I'm in my parenting class teaching parents, and I expose parents to what it means to understand the developmental processes of the child, if I let you understand that as a teenager, a parent with a teenage son or daughter needed to understand certain expectations at a particular time from that teenager. If you have an informed knowledge on how to intervene, on how to correct, on how to checkmate, you will see that you have the experience to deal with that situation. So rather than escalate that situation, you will de-escalate, you will correct for improvement. So experience is very important. You don't have to suffer from something before you have experience. You can gain experience through knowledge. You can gain experience through participation. You can gain experience through volunteering. A lot of ways. Children, although they can't express the experience that they have acquired over the years, God has built them in that infancy stage to take in a lot of things, and that becomes their experience. You may not have to teach a child how to write. All you need to do is to pick up your pen or pick up your marker and write one on the wall consistently for 1 week, for 2 weeks. That child will pick up that pen and write number 1 without you asking that child to do it. That's the power of knowledge. That's the power of experience. Without teaching that child what to do, that child will actually do a lot of things. That's experience. And that is a way that you should always, you should remember that you need experience to develop wisdom. Intuition and compassion. Intuition and compassion. In a lot of ways, they say that parents do have that intuition, to change things, to check their children, to know what is happening and all of that. Yes, we all have it. We have that goddamn feeling of getting something done or something wants to happen. We all have it. We all want to show compassion in different ways, but sometimes we're limited by our experiences, by our lack of knowledge, by our ignorance and all of that. But when you understand that for you to develop wisdom, you need to understand that your intuition will come to play and you have to react appropriately. You need to understand that you need to show compassion, because you will come to know, or you will come to find that there are certain stories that are beyond you. There are certain stories that you can't connect the dots and cross the T's. You just can't. And so when you understand that compassion is important, it helps you in developing wisdom and taking decisions that will come, that will bring an outcome of peace and harmony. Emotional and social intelligence is also a way to develop wisdom. What do you know about emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is about you and me. What do I
I think she's frozen. All right.
She will soon be back. I think she.
But that's amazing so far.
Yeah. Let's give her a few minutes. I'm sure she will be back soon. It's the kind of meeting you have to take notes.
Okay.
And you definitely find, the thoughts useful for your, personal use, as well as how you relate with others in the society.
So real quick, while we wait for her, if you just make your way to the chat room and, just put down anything that you've learned so far. Okay, she's back. Awesome.
Yeah, and also
back,
questions you may want to ask.
You're muted. You're muted, Ma.
Yes. Hello.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yes, welcome back.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
All right.
We can hear you now, loud and clear.
Just trying to look for another sport where the internet perhaps could be more active. Okay, thank God I'm back here. Okay, so I was talking about emotional and social intelligence. And I'm saying that emotional intelligence is understanding you, understanding the next person's emotional biases, perceptions, and all of that, and making use of that knowledge in a way that creates fairness and ability to coexist. That's emotional. That's emotional intelligence. The same thing about social intelligence as well. We're social beings. We interact. We face certain challenges together. Understanding that these things will play out in different scale. Not every one of us will entertain and deal with a particular situation in the same way, because we're wired differently. Now, that difference, I'll need to explain that we're being conditioned on how to react to certain things. If I have a background where I see my parents very patient, I monitor and see my parents volunteering for something, those things becomes almost part of me. It becomes my culture. It becomes my way of life. And so I'm not going to struggle at all in doing those things. As a matter of fact, I'll find myself doing them even when I do not, even when I'm not intentional about it. I just find myself doing it. It's just like, you love to read books, right? And you find yourself, money you're supposed to use to buy clothes for yourself, you're using all of it to buy books. So I'm an example of that, right? I could budget to take care of myself, right? Have a nice time. And the next thing, all of that money is used to buy books. And I come back and I tell myself, what have you just done again, right? So it's very important for us to understand that having social intelligence will help us to develop wisdom, will help us to practice the application of wisdom. It does not just come to us. It is something that we need to be intentional about. Now, I like to take us to practical steps in applying wisdom. Practical steps in applying wisdom. Remember, we said that even King Solomon had to take a decision. He had to make a choice. There was need for him to make a choice when he was offered something. And so for you to practice wisdom, for you to apply wisdom, you've got to make a choice. It's very important. I know that my time is running out, so I need to quickly touch on these things, right? Now, it's also important for us to inculcate the habit of practice. For you to apply wisdom, it means that if you've taken a decision to do something, you need to practicalize it. You need to continuously improve on it. You need to interrogate it as well. Curiosity is part of applying wisdom. Curiosity is part of applying wisdom. Very important. You need to be patient and be open-minded. This is a virtue. It is something we all know. It's not easy to have patience. It is not easy. But if you talk to yourself, if you look at yourself in the mirror, you can take a decision, right? You can make a choice, whether to be a patient person or to act on emotions, or to act anytime that you're confronted with something. It's very important if you want to apply wisdom to understand that you've got to be patient, you've got to be open-minded. Open-mindedness means that the religion of one person should not be a criteria for you to humiliate, for you to ignore, for you to abuse that person. You've got to be open-minded enough to receive information. You can't see yourself as, I know it all. I consider myself not knowing anything at all, because I'm always ready to learn. And I was just telling some folks the other day, in civilized societies, not a word is irrelevant. Not an idea is irrelevant. No conversation is irrelevant. They are always looking out for something they can learn from. They are always looking out for something that can trigger another kind of conversation or another kind of idea. But over here, we're not trained to understand that in the stupidity of someone's comment, you can learn something out of it. In the ignorance of someone's conduct, you can put an idea that can give you millions. It's very important. I've talked a lot about emotional intelligence, and it's also a step you should be aware of in applying wisdom. Knowledge, or everything we're talking about here is about knowledge. No knowledge is wasted. No knowledge can be utilized if it's not practiced. All right? So knowledge is key. We must always go for it. We want to thank the host for making this possible, and our team is a form of gaining knowledge. We're here to learn, right? Now, mediation skills. Applying wisdom must be done in the recognition that you need to be trained on mediation skills. Today, we have a judicial system that is so wrong that nothing seems to be certain. The uncertainty within our judicial system is such that you need to have mediation skills. You need to learn how to put interest on the most important things and forgo certain things. You need to understand that you don't need to bother yourself in life. Mediation skills will help you do that. And that is what you can apply in coming up with wisdom. And I can tell you how Solomon had used his mediation skills to have that judgment right that we all applaud today. So understand that you need to also have some mediation skills for you to do well. So let's quickly run along now. What is peace? Ultimately, all of this conversation we're having, the application of peace at the end of the application of wisdom at the end of the day is for us to be able to have peace. It's for us to be able to have harmony. So we're laying this foundation so that we understand that having peace is not something that will just come to you. You have to be at work. You need to understand certain steps, certain factors that can make that available for you and for you to be able to sustain it. So I've come up with this definition of peace. I said peace is the ability to intentionally manage your emotions, your expectations, your weaknesses, and strengths in order to cultivate a sense of calm, even in the face of challenging circumstances. The ability to intentionally manage your emotions, your expectations, your weaknesses, your strengths, to cultivate a sense of calm, even in the face of challenging circumstances. And so we've talked about a lot as to what wisdom is, as to what background information, as to using insights and all of that. And we're saying now that for you to have peace, you need to be intentional about it. You need to manage your emotions. We all have emotions. And so certain times we want to react in certain ways. If I'm offended by something, I should know that I'm going to be logical in taking a decision when it comes to that issue. I'm going to be biased. I need to know that, right? I need to know that, because when I know that, I'm not going to take a decision that will not be helpful, that will not be just, that will not be fair. And what that means is that I'm not going to have peace. So it's important for us to also intentionally understand that our expectations can never be met. We need to understand that. So certain times we're expecting people to do something for us and they're not able to meet our expectation, and wow, we're so demoralized, we're so frustrated and all of that. So when you come to that consciousness that yes, I expect certain things to be done. I expect my husband to provide certain things for me. Even when I know that he has a capacity to provide them, he's not providing for me. What should I do? You've got to control those expectations. And when you control them, peace will not invade you. You will have peace because you're able to control your weaknesses as well. Your strengths. When you have a weakness in something, it means you need to find a way and improve on it. But it takes one to understand that I am weak in this area to improve on it, right? The same thing with your strength. You need to always see how you can improve on your strength. You need to see how you can even question that strength in order that you can sustain it. So that's very important. That's the definition of peace. Now, we also have types of peace. We have personal peace, we have social peace, we have political peace, we have global peace. But I'd like us to interrogate personal peace a bit. Because like I said, you need to have that inner peace. You need to have that personal peace before you can talk about social peace, before you can talk about political peace, before you can talk about global peace. How do we arrive at this personal peace? We've said a lot. The definition of peace, I've talked a lot about it. We need to understand that although we share a lot in common, our circumstances, our struggles, our suffering, so many things had put us in a mold that reflects how we behave. Okay? And so when you have that consciousness, you're going to have peace. You will have inner peace. You know, certain times when I see people react the way that they react, I don't immediately come to the conclusion that this person is ignorant. This person is good for nothing. No, I don't do that. Because I understand that this person perhaps would have been molded by the circumstances, by the troubles, by the challenges, by the upbringing. And all of that would have formed that human being. And so I'm then careful on how I approach that. Mrs. Obama's book on becoming is a fantastic book that tells us that we can never stop learning, that each day there is something that happens in our life. Each day, each year, every time something happens, we continuously become something. That doesn't mean that you're not going to have gray hair or something. But that when you shift your position, your perspective in life, it actually helps you live a better life. A lot of us in this part of the world, we're so fixated. We're so strong on holding on to something, even when we cannot logically explain the benefits. We just want to say, this is what I know, and this is what I'm going to do. No, you can't have peace. To put all of these discussions I've just put together for us to have that personal peace. And so let's quickly talk about harmony. And I came up with this definition as well. Harmony is the effective use of positive interactions, cooperation, and alignment, whether in personal life and society, that contributes to the overall sense of well-being, beauty, and order. Now, if we spend a few seconds and reflect on the issue of our commonalities, it's not possible for me to live alone in this world. It's not possible, right? So even in my own immediate family, the way I treat my children, the way I interact, respectful communication, it's so important. The way I interact with my family members, with my husband, with my extended family, with my in-laws, everything comes to play. It comes to play for you to have harmony. And so it's important for you to come to that realization that if you're interacting, it has to be positive. A lot of us are so negative. We're so negative. And I think no one is free from that. but realizing that your inbuilt or your circumstances, your environment has produced you to become a perpetual negative person. Your interactions most times are negative. When you know that, then you can turn a new leaf. You can then change to say, you know what, going forward, I want to be positive in my interactions. In this part of the world, we hardly do things that bring us together, right? And so just like the cooperative societies, right? We're coming together to do something. We have a common understanding. We have a common focus. We have a common vision. We have a common mission. We want to implement something. It's always difficult for us to come together and form that kind of synergy, alignment, and achieve something. Today, we're singing. We're creating that awareness that you need to start to practice that. We need to practice cooperation. We need to see how we can align our thoughts, how we can share a common vision. These are the ways for us to have harmony. It is beautiful. It transforms the soul. When you have harmony, right? It's beautiful. It's orderliness. So it's important for us to understand all of this and utilize them. And so we also have types of harmony as well. We also have types of harmony. We have interpersonal harmony, we have social, we have personal, we have environmental. In all of these, and when students continue to learn, so we talked about respectful commands.
Hallelujah. This is part of managing our expectations. Amen.
Very
We have to
practical.
manage your expectations. This is very practical.
Yeah, online.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Awesome. It has been amazing. So we'll
Wow.
just give her a few minutes to, all right, she's back. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm running up. All right. So
Sounds well regarding internet.
yes. So it's very important for us to understand all of these types of harmony so that we'll be able to express ourselves in the right way. So I want to just talk a little bit about understanding that as a person, you need to cultivate certain skills. You need to cultivate certain skills. When I talked about the different types of wisdom, right? And I have the emotional wisdom. An example with, yeah, we softly dispute. And so for about 3 years, I've done more divorce matters, more child custody matters, matters relating to family dispute. And there are very little skills, knowledge that we need to have in order to exterminate, to remove completely all of those dispute points. Now, see the way emotional wisdom was used by the mother of Ben Carson. When she was faced with a challenge of a teenager harassing her life, getting under her skin and troubling her, she decided to school a child. She decided to pass over a responsibility to him. And by the time the responsibility was handled by him and he saw his inadequacies, he saw his lack of capacity, he was conformed, he was transformed. All right? So it is important for us to use wisdom to achieve harmony. And we've said that you need a lot of training, you need a lot of experience, a lot of things had to go into you achieving that. What are the benefits? I mean, I'd like to mention the benefits of using all of this. Ensuring that you apply wisdom, which outcome is about peace, which outcome is about harmony, which outcome is about satisfaction, which outcome is about personal growth and advancement, which outcome is sustainable decision making. If you're well informed, if you have the right insights, and you're given a matter to resolve, I tell you, you're going to have an outcome that is just and fair, right? You will experience a vibrant and productive lifestyle when you apply wisdom and you have peace and harmony. I'm talking about the benefits of applying wisdom, right? You're going to have an effective and efficient value system, whether in your home, in your workplace, in the church, in society. There are a lot that will happen. You're going to have increased confidence when you use wisdom. You definitely will be proud of yourself, right? You're going to have greater resilience. It's difficult in today's Nigeria to have resilience. It's so difficult, because right and wrong seem to be one and the same thing. As a matter of fact, right is even more cherished, praised, accommodated, promoted, awarded, given rewards than doing right. That's where we are in this country. It's difficult to explain that, right? But that's what it is. Does it mean that we need to apply the negative approach? Not at all. There is still room. There are still good people. And these few good people can change things, I bet you. And that's why we need to apply wisdom. We need to find peace and harmony. Effective communication, we've said, is very important. And that's what you're going to acquire when you apply wisdom. And at the end of the day, what is important? It's about peaceful communities. Peaceful communities. No matter how much I try to school my children, to create the opportunities, train myself, imbibe right values, without a peaceful community, we go nowhere. I go nowhere. And so it's important that we apply these things so that at the end of the day, we're going to have peaceful communities. In conclusion, let us spend less time on the complexities of life, pursue result-oriented goals, and do not be afraid of failures. Let us see challenges as opportunities for growth and development. Let us learn to see a positive side of every bad situation. There is always something to learn. And that's always my watchword. It's what I practice on a daily basis. No matter how bad the situation is, I'm always asking the question, what can I learn from this? And I'm always interrogating the issues to see whether there is something positive around it. And most times, I can't see something positive. I always see something to learn, right? Respectful communication is an important tool for a stress-free life. Respectful communication, someone can provoke you, can do so many things, and before you know it, you can no longer handle it. And you're becoming so challenged, so disrespectful, you're saying all manner of things. Please control your emotions. It's possible for you to achieve that. Practice total forgiveness. We do not have time. I would have delved into what I mean by practical total forgiveness. Practice total forgiveness. Have a practical lifestyle that shows that you have forgiven someone totally. And I have numerous examples to give to say that, yes, I have totally forgiven someone, right? It's very important for me to put this here. You know that you've totally forgiven someone when you see that person has offended you and you don't feel anything about it. You can still say, good morning, how are you? You can still go back to that person and repeat that same story. Do that same thing that you've been offended with, that action or taking those steps. That's when you know that you're forgiving that person totally. And it helps. Remember, it's not for that offender. It's not for that person that has done you wrong. It's for you. Having to forgive someone, it's for your own benefit. It's for you to have peace and harmony, right? So we need to do that. Embrace diversity. It's also another topic on its own. Quite a lot to discuss when we talk about embracing diversity. And so I want to say a very big thank you to you all. I know that I've taken a lot of time, okay? And perhaps the question and answer time can help us to dive more into interrogating this topic. Thank you so much. And I hand over to the moderator. Thank you.
Wow, please put your hands together if you can for Mrs. Abiyetan George. It has been mind-blowing. If we could, we would just stay right here and learn everything that you have to say, because it is transformative, it is informative, and we are really grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I see questions popping up already. Oh my goodness. And we haven't even started yet. We have goosebumps. I'm sure a lot of corrective measures, basically we all have started to think now on how to go about doing the right things and changing our mindsets and changing our orientations. And this is just really mind-blowing. Thank you very much. Please, once again, put your hands together and briefly unmute your microphones if you can. And yes, just say thank you.
Thank you, Ma.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wow. Okay. So moving on so that we can okay. Great Nation, Dara, do we have that? Or we just move on to real quick? Oluwadara, can you just play A Great Nation real quick so that we'll move on to our next speaker?
Okay, shortly.
All right, thank you. Let us reflect on this song for just a bit before we call on our next speaker. Dara, thank you.
After going on Africa's longest canopy walkway in Lagos, feeding an elephant in Jos Plateau State, and visiting the tomb
Nation.
With one song, with one